Welcome back to Go Figure. Today we're on lesson 38 of Saxon Algebra Half, rectangular coordinates. Our lesson objectives are to understand the rectangular coordinate system. We're going to identify and plot ordered pairs. We're going to name coordinates of points on a graph and finding the perimeter and area of a figure on a graph. So the coordinate plane can also be called the Cartesian coordinate plane or a rectangular coordinate system or just coordinate plane, just a few different names for the same thing. It's formed by two number lines. You have a horizontal axis, a horizontal line, which is called the x-axis, and you have a vertical line, which is called the y-axis. So just very simply, you'd have a line, horizontal and a vertical line, and this is the x-axis, and we always label it with an x there, and then a y is the vertical line. And these two axes, if that's right, plural axis, intersect at the origin, which is right here, which is the point 0, 0. So here's the origin. All right, so those axes divide our plane into four sections, four quadrants, and they are labeled starting with this first quadrant where you have positive x values and positive y values. It's the first quadrant. And then moving clockwise, you have the second quadrant where x is negative and y is positive. And then you have the third quadrant where both coordinates are negative. And then the fourth quadrant is where you have positive x coordinate and a negative y coordinate. So these quadrants can help us identify where a point is. So you might be asked in your assignments if we have a point plotted over here to say, hey, what quadrant is this? And you could say it's the second quadrant. Okay, so ordered pairs is just another name for a point on your coordinate plane. And they're written as, they have these parentheses, and the first number is going to be your x coordinate, and your second number is going to be the y coordinate, and it's divided by a comma there. So the x coordinate tells your horizontal placement, meaning, if we have our x-axis here, it's basically telling us where is the point going to be left or right of this y-axis. And you can think of, reading from left to right. When we're moving forward, left to right, our numbers are getting bigger. And if we started here and went backwards, our numbers are getting smaller, the negative numbers. And the y coordinate tells your vertical placement, how high up or down we go. So it's starting at the origin. If you have a positive y coordinate, it's going to go up. If you have a negative y coordinate, you're going down. And you can kind of think of that as like a thermometer. Here the temperature would be 0 at the origin, and if you have positive temperature, you're going up. And if you're in the negative temperatures, because you live in a cold climate like I do, you're very familiar with negative degrees, that would be down here. Okay, so identifying coordinates. So we want to identify these points, and so what you would do is first see, okay, this point A is from the origin, it's one unit over from the y-axis. So its x coordinate is 1, because this is the x-axis. So I'm going to label this with parenthesis 1 for my x coordinate, and then for y, you can see it's at 6. So that is point A is at 1, 6. Now point B, again, we want to start at the origin and move left or right, in this case, to the left, it's -6, and then we're going up 5. So this is going to be labeled -6, 5. Okay, and point C, again, we're going backwards to the left on the horizontal axis to -3, and we're going down 2, so our coordinates are going to be -3, comma, -2. And then point D, we're moving right on the x-axis to 7 and down 4, so this is going to be 7, -4. All right, next we want to sketch a coordinate system and plot these points, 3, -2, and -5, 7. So when we're doing just a sketch, it doesn't need to be, we don't need graph paper or anything. We can just put it on our sheet of paper. And we don't even have to like label each one of these tick marks. We can just, our first coordinate is a 3, -2. So we can just make 1, 2, 3 tick marks, and then we're going -2. So we'll say -1, -2, and plot our point right there. And then we can label it 3, -2. And then our second point is -5, 7. So that means we're going 5 to the left of our y-axis. Oh, and you know what? I'll label these x and y. I think I'm going to have to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going 7 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's going to be like right there. And we'll label that -5, 7. Kind of ran out of room there, but you get the idea. So that's what in your assignment, when it says to sketch, that's all you really need to do. You don't need to label each one of these marks. Just keep track of how many hash marks you're making. All right, next, find the area of the triangle with vertices of 3, 2, -1, 6, and -3, 2. So we're going to plot 3 of these points. 3, 2 is right here, and then -1, 6, -1 on the x, 6 on the y, and then we have -3 on the x and 2 on the y, and then I'm going to connect these points. So we'll do this across here and connect that. Okay, and then we are supposed to find the area of this. So let's remember, area of a triangle, the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 of base times height. Okay, so what is our base here? Our base is here, and we need to say, okay, how many units are we going across here? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From -3 to +3 is 6. So I'm gonna substitute this in. So 1/2 of 6, and then our height times. So I'll start, here's our highest point in our triangle, and we want to make a perpendicular line down to the base. So the height of this triangle is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll put 4 into our formula here. So we have 6 times 4 is 24, divided by 2 is 12. So the area of our triangle is 12. And remember, these are square units. So we're just going to put, we don't know if this is inches or feet or whatever. So we'll just say units squared. Units squared. And so that would be like if you actually counted how many of these squares there are, if we could, if they were nice and neatly divided, you could count these squares up and you would have 12 total squares. All right, here are your practice problems to go ahead and try on your own. I want you to make a sketch of a rectangle coordinate system like we did earlier, and then graph these 4 points all on the same coordinate grid. And you want to label them. You can label them A, B, C, D, and then press start when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, I don't have a blank slide, so we'll just do this real quick on here. Okay, so I'm going to make just a quick sketch of an X, Y coordinate system. Okay, and we'll start with point A. Point A is at -4, -3, so that's going to be in this third quadrant. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down 3, 1, 2, 3, so right here, and that's point A. We're going to label that. Okay, point B is at -4, 2. So we already have our -4 there, and then we're going to go up 2 this time on the y-axis. So that's going to be right here. Let's label that B. C, point C, we have 3, -2, so 1, 2, 3, and then down 2. It's going to be there. Point C, and then point D is 3, 5. So we already have 3, 1, 2, and then up 5, 3, 4, 5, let's say. So about right there. And that is point D. All right, good. Okay, so just to review, the coordinate plane uses x and y axes. Again, you want to get very familiar with what is x and what is y. X is the horizontal axis, and you can think the word horizontal is like horizon. When you look at on the horizon, you're looking at that flat plane to the ground, and then y is our vertical axis going up and down. And then we have our quadrants, starting with the first quadrant is where both x and y are positive numbers, and then we're going into counterclockwise to label the rest of the 4 quadrants. So go ahead and do problem set 38 and then read lesson 39 in your textbook. All right, that's all for today. See you next time.